had a bunch of changes. So there's been lots of changes to how we play the game. Today, we'll go over the different strategies and playstyles that were discovered over time and how they evolved. When Roblox Bedwars came out, there was very little you can do compared to now, and these were the only items in the game. If you're an OG player, you probably know how different these items were back then, which brings us on to our first strategy, bow spamming. Back in May, you can literally rapid fire bows as if they were turrets. Players had a much larger hitbox back then, so it was much easier to aim. We also didn't have balloons to save us, so your average player back in May would probably use a bow more than anything else. One of the first items in the game is TNT. Players find a way to TNT jump to other bases and save their blocks. It's kinda like an old version of the Jade kit, but less effective. Back when slime blocks were in the game, people found ways to MLG with the slime block, but I wonder why they were removed in Season 2. They just buffed the team gen spawn rate, so players could easily gear up. Since players get more iron, the games would be a lot more intense. Beds back then were super easy to break since axes and pickaxes did a lot more damage to blocks. Since beds were so easy to break, most players would be rushers and instantly rush the team next to them. On June 9th, they added emerald armor and emerald swords. Both of these items cost a ton of emeralds, and with these new items, long games would be much more intense since players would stack up for these items by capping their base. This era marks the rise of gen campers. They just added kits and 16v16. These new kits cause players to do all kinds of things. If you were a barbarian, you would be an aggressive player trying to upgrade your sword. If you were Farmer Cletus, you would probably be one of those people who'd rather camp at their base. If you're a tanker fan, this next kit will suit you well. They added the archer kit, which allows you to buy an overpowered tactical bow, so you would see a lot of bow spammers whenever this kit goes free. These new kits divided us into many kinds of players doing many kinds of strategies, but that's just the beginning. A few weeks later, they added a very special kit, the Elder Tree. This one is different from the rest since this is the first kit where you actually have to go around the map to collect stuff other than resources. Players who use this kit won't really care about armor since you can't buy armor, because the strategy is to circle the map as much as they can to find orbs. Then they added Lassie. Players would find a strategy where if you aim your lasso properly, you can pull your enemies into the void, and it's hilarious. They added Grim Reaper, which is the most OP kit they've added so far. Players would spawn kill to no ends. If you were in the match with a Grim Reaper back then, might as well leave the game. Otherwise, this will happen to you. It's August 20 and they added the Vulcan kit. This kit was very useful for trapping people, locking people, and holding them hostage at their base. Players would find a strategy where if they place enough turrets, they can keep spamming players with ammo. It's August 27th and they added 5 new Season 1 kits. Players found ways to literally make these kits game-breaking. Beekeeper is one of the best kits for long games since players can instantly get stacked. The Jade kit is probably the best Season 1 kit so far. We all hate fall damage, but with the Jade kit, players find a way to jump from a tower, use a hammer, and not take fall damage. Jade is a very easy way to save blocks since players find a way to maximize the distance you can jump. Jade is also a really good way to juke tryhards who are constantly chasing you. Ever since the release of balloons in July, players found a strategy called balloon spamming, where they would camp in the air with a bunch of balloons. But Raven Kit comes to the rescue. Hit someone in the air with a raven and they'll be dropped in the void. Pretty good strategy in my opinion.
But once we get your enemy, you're able to completely destroy the balloons. The best way to do this is when they completely fall down to the void and you activate balloons last second. That's literally the best way to do this.
Bounty Hunter kit just came out as well as 2v2. Since you only have 2 opponents in 2v2, killing one of them gives you a bunch of resources if you have Bounty Hunter kit. Players found this kit as a way to farm kills in 2v2 and get super high win streaks, including myself. They added the Spirit Catcher and Tesla coils, 2 very annoying things. Players use the spirits as a way to kill people who box themselves in and people who just constantly run. Tesla coils also come in handy. By placing down a bunch of Tesla coils while fighting, you can deal a huge amount of damage. Players are evolving and they're coming up with even cooler strategies. Players came up with bed breaking techniques, juking techniques, and PvP techniques. Dodo birds just came out and players are constantly finding jump combos. Like you can triple jump by double jumping on a dodo, then using the Jade Hammer, as well as a quadruple jump by launching yourself with TNT, double jumping with the dodo, and using the Jade Hammer. It's pretty OP, but that's nothing compared to the item combos later in this video. Lucky blocks have been added and you can now combine kits, so you can be a barbarian and pull up with a Jade Hammer, and you can be a bounty hunter and pull up with a tactical bow. Players would take advantage of this and make themselves unstoppable in lucky blocks. Let's go, Pyro got buffed, fire damage got buffed, and upgrades got buffed. This means that many more players will use Pyro to actually win games. It's October 23rd and we're in for Season 2, but there's so much stuff to cover, so let's start off with potions. The most overpowered potions are the Invis potions and the Shield potions. The Invis potions help players sneak into bases and break beds. The Shield potions help players win their sword battles by giving them an extra health boost. Since they only cost 1 emerald, many people can afford it, so you will see a lot of aggressive players. Let's go over the kits. These kits, useless. However, the Fisherman and Ares kit are very overpowered. Players who use the Fisherman kit are playing the waiting game. They just sit in their base and fish. It's like camping to a whole other level. Ares allows you to buy spears, which do a crazy amount of damage whenever you throw them at someone. The players seem to be a really big fan of the kit, and I can see why. Big brain players found a way to combine this kit with the Barbarian, so if you throw spears at a bunch of people at once, your rage goes all the way up. Oh yeah, and you also need diamonds to unlock Armory and the Brewing Stand. Players would run around the map and go on a scavenger hunt for diamonds, so you better not slip. They added ranked mode, which made players very competitive. More and more players would grind 24/7 to be on the ranked leaderboard. Lucky Blocks has been updated with even more items. More players would turn into trolls by finding trolling methods, like teleporting players into the void with a swap ball. Players also came up with new rushing techniques, like you can get a portable bridge from a Lucky Block, and you can use it to build over to another base in a second. They buffed the Builder Kit and reinforced blocks that are blast proof. This means that more players would use Builder Kit and rushing would be harder. If you thought Archer players were bow spammers, get ready for this. They released Vanessa. You can fire 3 arrows at once, which deals so much knockback that other players would just anti-cheat. You would see a lot of players using this to their advantage to constantly annoy you. They added Infection mode, which players use as a way to practice juking. Guided missiles have been added as well, and players use this item a lot. Players would just be blowing each other up. They added lucky airdrops. Players would turn into customers on a Black Friday and find ways to travel to the airdrops before everyone else. Remember the balloon spammers I was talking about? Bedwars added snowballs, which you can rapidly spam. Snowball spammers would use these snowballs to counter balloon spammers. Gliders are now in the game, and players can use these gliders as a way to rush. It's December 19th and Season 3 just came out. Players came up with a bunch of combos with the new enchants. For example, by combining the new Airy Key with Static, you can deal a lot more damage. By